If you'd like to get early access to more videos like this and help decide what you'd like to see next, please consider joining the Patreon. The link is in the description. Hello everyone. After looking at the new characters introduced to the TV series from Series 3 to 6, we now come to Series 7. As it came out soon after, I'll also include the characters introduced in the spin-off series Jack and the Sodor Construction Company. These were not characters I met during my childhood watching Thomas, but found them when I returned later. Many of these characters fell by the wayside, but a couple became major characters. Let's meet them now, and as with my other videos in this series, I'll explain how I think they could have worked in the Railway series. We're going to start with my favourite character introduced, Murdoch. He is a big engine painted orange, who is brought to Sodor to help with the heavy goods work that the island generates. Murdoch is based on the BR Standard 9F, a class of 251 engines built for fast heavy goods trains. The production team carried on their streak of choosing good prototypes for engines to introduce to the series with Murdoch. As I said, I didn't watch Series 7 as a child, and so did not grow up with Murdoch, and as such for years when I saw him in passing I thought he was painted the same shade of green as Henry and Percy. I'm colourblind, and the shade of orange to me looks like the bright green of the TV series NWR livery. As such, I would introduce Murdoch in the more standard green to the Railway series. His use in the TV series would transfer well to the Railway series. The island has no known dedicated heavy goods engines, and we know the ports were struggling with the amount of freight they were dealing with in the 1960s when the Fat Controller reopened Aylesbury Harbour. An express freight engine would therefore be really useful. The 9Fs were really versatile engines, being able to be used on passenger trains too, and their late withdrawal date makes it very simple to imagine one going to Sodor. His personality of liking peace and quiet and spending time alone makes sense in this role. He will often be off with his goods trains, not stopping often, and so is content to be by himself and around long stretches of countryside. One thing I would change about Murdoch, aside from his paint colour, is his Scottish accent, as 9Fs did not work much in Scotland. Personally, I like the idea of him being one of the Welsh 9Fs, such as 92237, as I like the idea of a standard gauge Welsh engine on the Northwestern. Of all the characters introduced this series, Spencer is one of the most successful. He appears in every series after his introduction but 9 and 23, as well as many specials. Of all the steam engine characters introduced, Spencer is by far the least pleasant, and could probably be described as the series' only steam engine villain. However, this is Thomas, and so even the worst engines can do good sometimes. He is based on an LNER A4, a streamlined engine who is brothers with Mallard and a cousin of Gordon and Flying Scotsman. He is painted grey in Series 7, which in later series becomes silver. This livery was really worn by the first 4 A4s built. Other colours worn on the LNER were garter blue, apple green and wartime black, and under British Railways they wore blue, green and purple. Aside from his villainy, the most interesting thing about Spencer is that he is a private engine. He is owned by the Duke and Duchess of Boxford, who we will meet later, and pulls their private train. While this arrangement isn't unheard of, having an A4 for the job is a bit of overkill. If I were to include Spencer in the Railway series, I would not have him as a private engine that ferries 2 people around, but rather a privately owned engine pulling a specially chartered rail tour. He is still owned by a toff, sure, which, along with his pedigree, makes him arrogant in the extreme, so maintains his disdain towards older and smaller engines, so would rub the Northwestern engines the wrong way. Arthur's next. He is a character I feel had real potential, but was never fully realised, being based on a far larger tank engine than the others we meet in the series. Arthur is based on an Ivor Class 2 tank engine. They were built for light passenger work, but utilised as mixed traffic engines, mainly on branch lines. An engine of Arthur's quality could easily be used on one of Sodor's branch lines, or on stopping trains on the main line. His size here is important, as he looks very different from the established tank engines on the Northwestern, and is much bigger. He runs a branch line in the series to a fishing village. This could either be the Kirk Ronan or Norranby branches in the Railway series. While Kirk Ronan does have a port, I think the Norranby branch is a better fit, as there is a seaside terminus in Norranby, but there is also more commuter traffic which would be suitable for an engine of Arthur's size, as well as possibly taking trains all the way through past Crovan's Gate, further inland. I don't think James would be very happy with there being another red engine on the Northwestern, and so I'm tempted to put Arthur in Northwestern green. In the show, he wears a sort of LMS red livery, but in my mind, only the Great Western engines get the privilege of wearing their old colours. The next engine character we have is Fergus. He is a tiny blue well tank that works at a cement works on Sodor. Fergus is based on Blue Circle, an engine from a cement works in Kent, where I live, who was then preserved at the Bluebell Railway before moving to various other heritage lines. Although there is no known cement works in the Railway series, I like the concept of a new private industry engine introduced to the series, like Mavis and Bill and Ben. Being an engine in a secluded private industry, Fergus is very strict and abides by the rules in the show. I like this idea, but I also think it's fun to imagine him being somewhat impressionable around the bigger engines and also a little bit gullible. I would like to see Fergus included at a private industry on Sodor, maybe working at a cement works or working somewhere new like the quarry at Marin if it had a railway link, and after that closes, maybe seeing him go into preservation at the Craven's Gate Preservation Society. Lastly, probably the most successful character introduced by the TV series, we have Emily. I know she's an engine with many existing ideas about how she could be included in the Railway series, including her being a different basis, working on the North Western since the early days, being found in a shed and restored, being one of the Sodor and mainland engines, and many, many more. So just to emphasise, this is only my opinion. Emily is based on the fine-looking Great Northern Railway Stirling single, of which 53 were built between 1870 and 1895, and only one survives. They were built for expresses, so as far as the theories I mentioned so far go, having Emily as part of the Sodor and mainland does not really make much sense. I'm also not one for changing an engine's basis lightly, and the found in an old shed story has been done with Duke and Bloomer already, so I think it's hard to justify a third. The idea that she is one of the oldest engines on the North Western is also one I'm not personally a fan of, but again, this is just a list of what I personally think works best. Emily is a friendly, caring engine, who has gone through various personality changes throughout the show. Sensitive and quick thinking, bossy and impatient, and sometimes feels like she's not good enough and unhappy with her lot in life. Another phrase often used to describe Emily is big sisterly. I think all of these traits can be combined and slightly changed to make Emily a maternal figure, as she is significantly older than most of the other engines we meet. I think a motherly rather than sisterly relationship works best. I think the best way to introduce Emily to the Railway series is to have her as the preserved example of the Stirling single class, number 1. This engine is owned by the National Railway Museum, and so would come to Sodor as part of a special train. I see her Railway series arc as follows. She was present, although not steamed, at the Stockton and Darlington anniversary in 1975 where she met Bloomer. She was content with museum life, but seeing Bloomer made her want to be in steam again. After working at the Great Central Railway and North Yorkshire Moors Railway in 1981 to 1983, she visits Sodor before returning back to the NRM. Here, she makes a good impression on the engines, despite her being a little short-tempered due to her age, and will be welcomed back for a visit far sooner than that show-off Spencer. She gets the chance to come back when, for one night only, she stars in the Railway Children held at Craven's Gate. I saw the real number 1 in this role at Waterloo and thought it was marvellous. She is still in working order, but is happy with her life as a static exhibit after the fun she had on Sodor. Now onto the non-rail vehicles. All of these were created for the Sodor Construction Company spin-off. You may have seen some of these edits before, as they have appeared in my Season 6 video when I looked at the pack characters introduced to that series, but I hope you enjoy it all the same. If you want to hear how I would introduce the pack as a whole, go and check out that video, link as always in the description. Anyway, let's meet the new members of the pack in numerical order. First of all we have Nelson the ballast tractor, who takes the smaller machines to the work sites. He is based on a Scammell tractor, making him a relative of Series 5's Butch, Series 6 Max and his twin we shall meet shortly, and the cancelled Nigel. One thing I found interesting when researching this video was the description of Nelson in his character profiles as intelligent. I don't think there's a character in the Railway series whose primary trait we would say was intelligence. Though some of the older characters like Edward and Duke could be said to be wise, I suppose, and Sir Handel can be quite crafty, I think intelligence is a slightly different concept. I would see Nelson as one of the leaders of the pack, known for his good general knowledge, but maybe not the best to go to for advice. Next, a fairly familiar face, Monty, twin of Max, both being dump trucks. Monty is based on a Scammell lorry, specifically a Mountaineer tipper, which would make him related to Nelson and the characters mentioned before. Monty is much like Max in being a black sheep of the group, not being totally villainous, but certainly the most impolite and unkind of the group. In the Railway series, there would be something like Gordon or James for the main line, or Sir Handel and Duncan for the Skarloey Railway. Not bad guys, just not always the most helpful. With the added bonus of them being twins, they could have something of Bill and Ben's sense of humour and mischief. Patrick the cement mixer comes next. His model is based on a World War II lorry with an added cement drum. He is said to be one of the oldest pack members, along with Kelly, and owned by Miss Jenny's father. While I would keep this information the same, I'd consider changing Patrick's name for 2 reasons. Firstly, it clashes with the already established mountain engine of the same name, and secondly, Patrick is a common Irish name, and shortens to Paddy, which can be used as an insult against the Irish, so I think a name change might be in order. I like the idea that Miss Jenny's father brought the earliest pack members over from Ireland with him, but having a cement mixer called Paddy is a little on the nose. Lastly, and without a number, is Buster the Steamroller. He is based on an Aveling Porter design, just like Fergus, and a predecessor to our other steamroller friend George. I would love to see Buster and George paired up, of course, with Buster's cheeriness and George being dour, making them a solid partnership for a story. In the pack, I would see Buster being something of a loner due to the nature of his work, but still a celebrated member of the team who is cheerful alone or with company. Now, let's take a final look at the human characters introduced in Series 7. Starting with the Duke and Duchess of Boxford, the owners of Spencer. This pair are from the mainland and only visit Sodor to go on holiday and visit their friends, but make lots of appearances in the show. As they are based on the mainland, I don't think there's too much to say about these two. There are 2 real places in England called Boxford, in Suffolk and Berkshire, and there are 24 non-royal dukedoms, to which adding a 25th isn't too much of a change to the real world. The Duke is the one with the title, and the Duchess would have married into the family. Next comes Lord Callan. In the TV series, he is sort of a Scottish laird transported to Sodor, living as he does in a castle by a loch, and wearing Scottish clothes. While I enjoy him as a TV series character, it's hard to see him working in the same way in the Railway series. There is nothing about him being Scottish that makes him hard to exist there, but living in Callan Castle would be harder as this castle and loch do not exist, and it's not possible to find a place to put either, or a historical reason for the castle to exist. However, Lord Callan is still a possibility. Let's say we have a proud Scottish man called, for example, Lachlan Campbell, who comes to Sodor and keeps his Scottish roots alive with his appearance, and settles in Callandale. He then could get a peerage and, as a baron, could take the name of his location, being known as Lachlan Campbell, Lord Callan. That way he keeps his title and the Scottish outfit, but stays within the history and geography of the Railway series. Dusty Miller is a minor character who runs a mill. Now there would be plenty of mills on the island of Sodor, so placing him at one of those would work. There is a flour mill at Farquhar Road, which is not too far from where the mill is in the TV series. And finally, the brass band is just something I find so charming, and something you get all over the UK, so I'm sure Sodor is no exception. There is no real need to change anything about the band. It's a group of friends playing music together. I especially like this guy. And that's my ideas about how the new Series 7 characters could be introduced to the Railway series. If you think there is anyone I've missed, or have any different, or dare I say better ideas for these characters, I'm sure I'll get many about Emily, let me know in the comments below. Thanks for watching everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the Patreon like these fine folk to help pick the next video subject, get early access to new content and help support the channel.